Hi, Joe. I'm Hannah from Globe Life American Income Division. I spoke to you about the benefits through your union. Is Mary there? Okay, great. I've got your benefits here. I really love that they have me using Zoom. It makes things go a lot faster. So don't worry, I'm not going to take up much of your time. Let me go ahead and get started. While I get this set up, let's learn a little bit about each other. Do you have any kids? What are their names? And what do you do for work? Mary, what do you do for work? Now, I know you're dying to know, so let me tell you exactly why I'm visiting with you and what I'm going to be doing. My job is to go over some of the no-cost benefits that you've already been set up for you. Then I'm going to go over some additional benefits that you might qualify for. So, my company, American Income, works with over 20,000 different local labor unions, credit unions, and associations throughout the United States. And look, whether you like unions or you don't, the thing that everyone agrees on is that they have the best benefits. A big reason for this is because of their relationship with American Income for the past 60 years. As you can imagine, that me running around like crazy, so let me go ahead and get started and jump into the no-cost benefits. Joe and Mary, your first no-cost benefit is a Child Safe ID Kit mobile app, which is endorsed by the International Union of Police Associations. I'm sure you know a bunch of families with kids, right? Did you know that Texas leads the nation in abductions? And did you know that 93% of children that aren't found in the first 24 hours are never found? And that's why they decided to create the most comprehensive app of its kind to help find a missing child. Imagine if your child went missing. Can you see how important this would be? Being the endorsed company by the International Union of Police Associations, they're asking that you refer at least 5 families for this app. And you mentioned that you knew a few families with children. And everyone always wants to put down dozens of people. So let's just start with the people close to you. Who's the first that comes to mind? And then next. So Joe, Mary, this is the no cost AIL Plus discount card. How are your benefits through work? So you're going to absolutely love this. I'm sure you know by now that you can't rely on your group benefits since you don't control them and they could change at any time. So this no cost benefit will help you with some of those gaps by giving you up to an 85% discount on things like dental, vision, prescription drugs, hearing aids, telemedicine, and chiropractic services. Your membership requires an annual renewal, and that's at no cost to you. We'll let you know when it's time to renew. You won't even have to think about it. People always tell me that they didn't think they'd use it very much, but find themselves using it all the time. Again, it's at no cost. It's good to get the extra peace of mind, and you'll receive an activation email within the next few days, so be on the lookout for that. This is the no cost accidental death and dismemberment certificate. Joe, this is a living benefit that pays you $2,000 for the loss of one hand, one foot, or the sight in one eye, and double that amount, or $4,000 for the loss of any two. Mary, for you, this is a death benefit that would pay you $4,000 should Joe die accidentally. Now, I know that $4,000 doesn't seem like all the money in the world, and really it's not, but if Joe were to die, his paycheck would die with him. And I imagine that would put a crunch in your budget, wouldn't it? So you can see how this would definitely help, right? Let me go ahead and email you a certificate for your records. You'll receive a green certificate in the mail, and you're going to want to fill it out completely and send it to the PO box at the top to ensure that you're covered. One more thing I need to do is put down 2 emergency contacts on here in the event that you were to die together in a common accident. It would be wise if they lived in Texas and were over the age of 18 and living outside your home. Who's your first emergency contact? And your second? Now, when something happens, you're going to need our local office number. Can you grab your phone for me real quick? Okay, so the office number is 832-327-0800. So your family gets the money they're entitled to. I'm going to be calling your emergency contacts personally so they know what to do in the event of a claim. If you could, please give them a heads up that they'll be hearing from me. In addition, if they choose, they'll also have access to this thanks to you. Now, Joe, this policy is just on you, but the second part of this benefit is that you can extend this to your closest family members and friends at no cost to you or them. So how this works, let's say, forbid, you were to die in an accident. A $2,000 policy, just like yours, will pay out to their family at no cost to you or them. All you're doing is giving them the option to take advantage of this, just like you did. The ability to extend this is tied to my visit with you today because of your enrollment period. So it's important not to prejudge anyone's situation. Let them decide for themselves. Now, they give you $20,000 worth of this benefit, which means you can extend it to up to 10 families. Obviously, your emergency contacts will automatically be included. So Gerald and Susan are already taken care of, and that leaves you with 8 more. And you had mentioned that you had friends, families, and coworkers. Let's get this to them. What's their name? How do you spell it? Joe, make sure you give the families you extended the no cost benefit to a call or text, letting them know that I'll be calling them in the next few days. And as long as they have a heads up, they're really happy. But if I call them and they don't know who I am or why I'm calling, sometimes they get confused and they'll be upset with both of us. So please, please, please let them know. Can you make sure? Joe and Mary, now I'm going to jump into reviewing the exclusive benefits that you must qualify for. All of the families that I see love this part of the program, and it's why 20,000 different groups handpicked American Income to handle their permanent and portable benefits for the past 60 years. First, let's look at the needs analysis software. The reason most people don't have the right coverage is they don't know what they need. In a few minutes, and after I review this with you, you'll definitely know where you're at. I'm going to ask you a few questions to see where you're at. Before I do, let me show you my license information here in the state of Texas. So you know I'm a licensed professional to handle these kinds of benefits. And before I jump into the survey, I have 3 preliminary qualifications to review with you. You must be a member of an authorized group or sponsored by someone who is. You must have an active checking account with a bank or credit union. And have you or anyone in your household been diagnosed with COVID-19 virus in the past? And if so, when? Okay, great. Before I go any further, it looks like the needs analysis found some gaps in your coverage. So I have this mandatory read-off letter for you. It explains how the enrollment process works. Joe and Mary, instead of reading this whole thing, let me just summarize it for you. What it basically says is that if, as I'm going through the benefits, you're nodding your head, thinking, wow, these are some great benefits, and I can see why 20,000 groups approve this and why everyone's doing it, then I'm going to go ahead and ask you to apply today. On the flip side, if I'm going through the benefits and you're thinking to yourself, you know, these really are some great benefits, but they don't feel any need for me and my family right now, then I'm actually going to ask you to not apply. Either way, yes or no, the decision has to be made today during your service period, in fairness to all the other members waiting to enroll. You'll see what they did is they set it up to be a no-brainer. It's going to be an easy yes or no. Does that make sense? Whatever you decide to do, they do want you to give your opinion in a Google review, which is sort of like my report card. I try to get a 5-star rating every time, so it's important to stop me if you have any questions. Does that make sense? Joe, will you stop me if you have any questions? Mary, you'll do the same? As you know, over the years, we go through contract negotiations and benefit changes at work. It's give and take. Lately, it seems like we're paying a lot more, but getting a lot less. The company has a labor advisory board of 50 international union presidents whose main job it is to provide the best wages and benefits for their members. From their feedback, along with feedback from members like you, they came up with a list of concerns that apply to all working families, whether they're union or not. The first concern is, how's your health insurance through work, Joe? No matter how good it is, there's always gaps that aren't covered. Doctors and hospitals are doing great. Have you seen the doctor's parking lot? But when you or someone in your family is hurt or injured, then there are lost wages as well as out-of-pocket expenses that health insurance doesn't cover. The next concern is funeral and final expenses. Have you ever dealt with a funeral before? Unfortunately, at some point, we pretty much all have to deal with this. Do you know what the average funeral cost is nowadays? That's right. In Texas, on average, all things considered, it ends up costing at least $14,000. Funeral homes want their money immediately, and this creates a lot of stress for the surviving family members. Most families don't have that kind of money laying around, and even if they didn't set it aside for that. The next concern is the paycheck loss. Obviously, no matter how great your benefits are through work, they won't keep a paycheck coming into the home. This is a huge concern for a surviving spouse and children. The next concern is your mortgage or rent. Aside from the emotional trauma that an unexpected death can cause, having to have the surviving spouse and kids move out of their house makes everything so much worse. They wanted to make sure that that wouldn't happen to the families that we visit with. The next concern is the children's protection. Due to the fact that work benefits don't provide any permanent coverage for kids or protection for kids' future due to loss of one or both parents, they wanted to make sure they had something in place. Kids are the most vulnerable to experience severe consequences from death of a parent, and that's why this is top priority. The next concern would be the terminal illness, such as cancer. Right now in the United States, for men, there's a 1 in 2 chance out of developing or dying from cancer. For women, it's about 1 out of 3 until the age of 65, and then it's 1 out of 2. It's the leading cause of bankruptcy due to illness, and it's absolutely devastating to families. The next concern is with your group benefit. Group benefits are for a group, but individuals have all different needs. More importantly, you can't rely on your group benefits because you don't own those. Believe it or not, aside from retirement, people can lose benefits if they're unemployed or if they have a long illness before death. They wanted to make sure you had permanent benefits that weren't tied to your workplace. The last concern is the biggest concern. It's affordability. Now, to take care of all of these concerns, it's usually just way too expensive. Since we sit down with people making $7 an hour and some making $77 an hour, some are working tons of overtime, some are retired, laid off. Regardless of the situation, they wanted this to be affordable to everybody. The way they set it up is, Joe, let's imagine your boss comes up to you at work and tells you that because things are going so well, they would start paying you for 41 hours instead of 40. Now, with that hour, are you going to tell your wife it's time for matching Ferraris? Or are you going to call a travel agent and book a dream vacation? Maybe start construction on your dream home? Of course not. Now, on the flip side, let's say work's a little slow and your boss comes up to you and tells you that instead of letting you and some of your coworkers off, they would just send everyone home an hour early on Friday. So you'd be working 39 hours instead of 40. Would you have to get rid of your car or cell phone, maybe cancel your TV subscription? Exactly. The idea is that 1 hour isn't going to change your lifestyle. That's why the setup is That's why the setup is this way. So let me show you how that 1 hour takes care of your concerns. Joe and Mary, it helps if I use an illustration to show you what's been set up for you. So Joe, let's imagine that you go into work tomorrow, and right now you're both at job A, which is the job here on the left. And with job A, you have your normal group benefits. With job A, you're making $1,475 per week. Let's say that another job opens up, and we'll call this job B. And with job B, you have the same group benefits, same coworkers, same responsibilities, same everything. The only difference is the income. So instead of $1,475 per week, you're making $1,435 per week, which is about a 1 hour's wage difference, which, like you said before, wouldn't change anything for you. So they took that 1 hour that didn't mean much, and they decided to put it towards something that would, which is handling these concerns in a very simple and straightforward way. The first benefit covers your entire family due to any sort of accident. Like I said before, health insurance and group benefits are great, but they don't cover everything. This program pays you up to $100 every time you go into a doctor, urgent care, or hospital for any accident or injury, whether that's a bump, a bruise, or a bee sting. If you end up overnight in the hospital, it pays you $200 per day, and double that for intensive care, $400 a day. So let's say you have an accident and end up in the hospital for 5 days. By having this in place, it would pay you $1,000 tax-free. Considering that you're not working and making money, this money will help take care of your bills. Now, on top of that, you'll get $10,000 for the loss of a hand, a foot, or sight in one eye, and double that, or $20,000 for the loss of any two. The last part of this benefit provides an additional $20,000 to $100,000 accidental death benefit, depending on the type of accident. As you can see with your current job, none of this is covered. The next concern has to do with your funeral and final expenses. There's a 100% chance that you'll use this one. The Freedom of Choice Certificate will take care of the financial burden so your family doesn't have to. The FOC has already been set up with every funeral home. Your Freedom of Choice Certificate is worth $30,000. The funeral home director will simply call the number on the front of the certificate, and American Income will take care of everything for you, including sending the remaining money to your family tax-free. They're using a permanent benefit to fund your freedom of choice. That way it's there when and not if your family needs it. Mary, on the worst day of your life, can you see how this would make things a lot easier for you? Right now, you don't have anything like that in place. Mary, when something happens to Joe, you're probably going to miss him, right? But after a few weeks go by, aside from missing Joe, what else do you think the family is going to miss? Exactly. So your program provides a total of $100,000 that pays out for any kind of death to take care of this concern. Mary, this would give you and the children income every month for 3 years, just like Joe is still here. This gives you time to figure out what you're going to do with your life, your job, and any other insurance money. Right now, as it stands, there's no monthly income replacement. Besides their income, the next thing people want secured for their family is their home. And that's exactly why the benefit software is recommending mortgage or rent protection. Your program includes $100,000 of coverage for you, Joe. Statistically, if you were to die during your working years, it's probably not going to be a health issue like a stroke or a heart attack. It'd probably be due to an accident. So this is funded by an accidental death benefit to save you money. Right now with your current job, they aren't going to pay your mortgage when something happens, but this program does. The next concern, the benefit software found, had to do with your children's future education. Most families I see tell me they want their kids to have the option of going to college. Statistically, the biggest thing that would prevent this is if the kids lost one or both of their parents if they're minors. The benefit software is giving you $100,000 for the college fund, which breaks down to $50,000 for each of your 2 children. Huge, right? As you can see right now, you don't have that. Besides their income, the next thing people want secured for their family is their home. Oh. Okay. Also included is a special $10,000 life insurance plan for all your children, 18 and younger, that qualify. When they turn 21, they can convert this to 5 times that amount, or $50,000 of permanent life insurance with no health questions. Having this in place may be their key to getting coverage later on when they may otherwise not be able to qualify. Your current group benefits don't provide anything permanent for your children. Another important feature of this program is that if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, such as cancer, you can access half of your freedom of choice and income protection benefit while you're alive. They're providing you with $65,000 for this fund. Joe and Mary, this gives you the chance to put your family in the best situation financially if you get the worst news imaginable. The remainder of the benefit would pay out to your family as a death benefit. Your current benefits don't provide anything there. As you can see, they thought of pretty much everything. Unlike your group benefits, which you can lose, these benefits are permanent and portable. So if you leave your job, retire, or leave the union, you keep these. In addition, if you are on a qualified layoff, they'll cover the benefits for you for 3 months. If you're ever in a situation where you'd have a qualified strike, it's up to 12 months. This way, you and your family won't lose the benefits when you really need them the most. By the way, you never have to pay that back. Joe and Mary, now that I've reviewed everything with you, I'm sure you can see why 20,000 groups choose this program above all others, and why more families have our program than any other companies because of the value and the full circle of protection it provides. I mean, Joe, if something were to happen to you, like a bad car accident, your family would receive $370,000 tax free, all for about 1 hour's wage per week. With your current job, there's no guarantee that your family would receive anything at all. So, Joe and Mary, if you went into work tomorrow and you had a choice between job A and job B, which would you take? Why would you do that if you're making more money over here at job A? That's what everyone says. It's a no-brainer. So everyone wants the benefits, but not everyone can get the benefits. So as I mentioned before, I do have to get you qualified first. So let me run through these questions and let's see if you can qualify. So I'm not the underwriter, but based on what I'm seeing here, it looks like I should be able to get you qualified for the benefits. This is a QR checklist, which is a mandatory checklist that we review with all of our members. It explains the enrollment process. And the first thing the checklist talks about is the way the benefits are handled. Joe and Mary, almost everyone takes advantage of this program, like you, because of the value. And the cost is very small compared to the many benefits. Now, it's very rare, but sometimes a member cancels, could be a week, a month, or a year later. And we end up seeing these same people the next service period or about 2 to 3 years later. And they're upset because they're no further ahead than they were. Most people end up wanting to reapply for the benefits. The problem is that now the program is more expensive because they're older. Worse yet, some people can't even get into it anymore because their health has changed. The point is that this is not a short-term fix. It's a long-term solution. And the longer you're in the program, the more valuable it is. So if this $130 a month is uncomfortable for you right now, let's fix it while I'm here. How does everything feel? Good. Then please make sure to keep this important program in place for your family. And the next time I see you, you'll be really happy you did.